Hey everybody, welcome to Surface Level, curious conversations about the Black and queer experience. I'm one of your hosts, Tony, and today, Jordan, Damon, and I are taking a look at the many layers of the drag experience.
I loved the art form. I started to go to the gay clubs and see drag, but I always said to myself, I would never do drag.
You went from no, absolutely not to an eyelash away. What made you put those lashes on?
Do you know what is gaggy? I have no idea.
Oh.
I think I literally was at a gig one time and I was like, I'm a drag queen. Oh my God. RuPaul was definitely a catalyst in my journey of finding who my artist self was, which ended up being Olivia Lux. Drag queens are like superheroes because you can use this energy and power that you have when you have the wigs and the heels on to help feed and source the energy and confidence for your non-drag self.
This is Don't Be a Drag, Just Be a Queen.
Love that song.
Don't be a drag, baby. Just be a queen.
A lyric.
I'm excited because we have, I think today will be the first time that we have a drag queen on our show.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to talk about all things drag. So this is like our inaugural moment. And I'm really excited to introduce today's guest. So recognized for her polished and glamorous style, she captivated us with her charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent on season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And beyond the runway, she is also celebrated for her advocacy and community engagement, contributing to the broader impact of drag culture. And so today we are really honored to welcome Olivia Lux to our Surface Level family.
Welcome.
Wow.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Welcome.
What's up?
What's
Diva-licious
up?
divas.
Yeah, this has been a long time in the making for us, and so we're glad to like finally see this to fruition and make this happen, and have you come here and just chit chat with the girls, have a kiki.
Honestly, it's a gag because I've been listening to y'all for a minute now. So it's wild that I'm on it because I know y'all's voices from like inside my living room type of thing. You know what I mean?
So, with this season of our show, we are doing a bit of reflection, and for this episode, who else can we reflect upon but the iconic RuPaul? And so that's what our little icebreaker game is going to be about. I don't need to go into detail on who RuPaul is. You all should do some research if you don't know. You've been living under a rock or something. If you've not seen RuPaul's Drag Race, you're missing out. So I'm going to go ahead and get into sort of a RuPaul's pop quiz. So the first one here is quick drag challenge. And Olivia, you're going to have to get us together if this is not true, because I found this on the internet. So according to an insider, contestants on RuPaul's Drag Race are typically given a limited time to get into drag. What is the specific time for this quick drag challenge? A, 45 minutes, B, 60 minutes, C, 90 minutes, or D, 120 minutes?
An hour? I'm going to go with an hour.
Okay.
It's 90 minutes.
Oh.
Gag. Wait, time out. Time out. Hold the horses, baby. Quick drag or like a main stage?
It
like,
says
type of
quick drag. So.
I will venture to say that I think all of these answers are incorrect.
Okay. Get us together.
Gag. We were given, unless there's another season out there that they gave the girls more honey.
That's what,
in which case, I need to contact Mama Ru.
That's the tea that I want.
We had to do our mugs in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. For
15
the
minutes.
for the quick drag, we're doing a mini challenge type of situation, but all of those are correct for like the maxi challenges.
Got it.
Which still is difficult, but because when you think about it, you're also talking about your stories and your life and your so you're beating your face and rouging your cheeks while you're talking about the connection you have with your grandmother. Okay,
and that's why RuPaul's Drag Race wins the Emmys, because those stories.
I've been to stab myself.
I
would have screamed with a pencil.
Okay, I would pay good money to see it. Okay,
That's a good time. Have a lash glued to my lip.
Next question. RuPaul's early influence. So according to the 80s Kids article, RuPaul's drag career was influenced by a famous pop group? Which iconic 80s group inspired RuPaul to explore the world of drag? A, The Bangles, B, Culture Club, C, Duran Duran, or D, Bananarama?
I don't recognize any of these names.
Mhm.
I was going to say
some of them.
Vanity Six, but
I recognize this because RuPaul has referenced it on the show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Which of these
Culture
80s?
Club?
Ding, ding, ding. Culture Club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the group.
that was the one that was the most familiar. I wasn't familiar with them, but the most
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
rang a bell for me.
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
the song?
Don't get me to lying.
Okay.
No.
Have you
That's
seen
all.
those
Well, it wasn't-
vintage videos of RuPaul
No,
on
but it's like a-
YouTube? I mean, Village Voice. I mean, like
Yeah.
very underground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If there's a cure
like
for
RuPaul's a
this,
club chick.
cover like gag.
Okay, so next question. Drag Race milestone. RuPaul's Drag Race reached a significant milestone in 2016. What is the milestone and why was it particularly noteworthy for the drag community? A, 100 episodes, longest running drag show. B, first transgender winner, inclusivity breakthrough. C, international expansion, a global phenomenon. Or D, Emmy Award, mainstream recognition. What say the girls?
My spirit is moving me towards international expansion.
Okay.
Was it the first Emmy?
The first what?
Emmy.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with 100th episode was not. I think it was earlier, 2016. I think I'm gonna go with first Emmy as well.
Ding, ding, ding. So it was the first Emmy,
Mm.
and which ushered in a train of many more to come, as we all know at this point. But yeah, for mainstream recognition, like for a show like RuPaul's Drag Race to receive that kind of recognition, like once you have that, it's kind of like once you're nominated, you're always Emmy nominated,
Mhm.
But once you actually win, yesterday's price is not today's price.
Okay.
So, last one, RuPaul's early stage career. Before gaining widespread fame, RuPaul was involved in the New York City club scene. In the early 80s, RuPaul performed as part of a musical group. What was the name of the musical group? A, Ru and the Revolutionaries. B, the Glam Squad. C, Wee Wee Pole and the Sensations. Or D, the Drag Delights.
I'm going with Wee Wee Pole and the Sensation because I want that to be true. Please. What?
Any other guesses? Ru and the Revolutionaries, the Glam Squad, Wee Wee Pole and the Sensations, or the Drag Delights?
I'm going to go with B,
The Glam Squad.
the Glam Squad.
I'm between B and C.
BNC.
Knowing Rue though, I'm gonna go with C.
Ding, ding, ding.
I was
like,
Wee
if
Wee
it's
Glam
not
Squad
C,
is a little too
Wee Wee
conservative
Pole
for
and the
her.
Sensations. I mean, it's just the right amount of over the topness that
It was
you would
either
expect.
RuPaul thought of this or Tony was sitting at his house ridiculously writing down options and wrote down Wee Wee Pole and the Sensation. I said, Tony ain't do that. Tony
Listen.
ain't do that.
And last but not least, and we asked this to all of our guests, Olivia, what are you curious about?
Ooh, yes. The question, right? When you are a guest, you get to answer the question. I thought long and hard about what I'm curious about, like recently, and I think on a conversation tip, I've been curious about like how much accessibility people have to me. That's kind of been like my thing right now. Social media wise, my phone wise. I recently found the do not disturb function. And I've been really tapping into like how much we're accessible to one another and how much accessibility people have to me as an artist and a person. So that's what I'm kind of curious about recently.
Yeah.
To kind of just like think about that more.
Yeah, no, I that's a good one because as of late, I'm just like, I need to step away from the devices, or I just don't want to be like, it's not like don't text me, but like you said, that do not disturb function is like, I want you to be able to text me, but I want to not have to respond until I'm ready
I'm
to sit down and do
a
that.
notify anyway type of bitch.
You break through to do not
It's just-
disturb.
You're a notify anyway, girly.
Absolutely. Well, because I also don't. I'm not like hunting people down that way. Like if I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. Like I'm not just bothering you.
When I text, you respond.
When I
I
text,
text,
you
you
respond, bitch.
No, I get that. I get that. It feels like it's a lot, right? You feel
Mhm.
like I always think like, oh my God, I didn't respond to this text. I didn't respond to this email. I didn't respond to, and then the anxiety just starts to build up. It's a
Absolutely.
whole lot. It's a whole lot. But let's start the conversation here.
Okay.
So I think it'd be interesting to just hear what everyone's first experience or exposure to drag culture was.
Yes.
And then maybe like after you share your experience or your first experience, just talk about like how your understanding of the drag experience have evolved over time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who
I'll
wants
go
to start?
first? Because I very very distinctively remember in college going to Nelly's in DC, and they did drag bingo. I forget what night of the week it was, and the drag queen's name was Shaquita Lee, and she was everything. And I think my first thoughts about drag were I was a little intimidated. I think
Mhm.
because of what you see on TV or what you know, like you kind of think, okay, they're loud, they might call you out, they might, all of those things that you might think when you first are exposed to a drag queen. I think I had every one of those thoughts. And then going to drag bingo, because a drag queen, they're gonna get in your face, they're gonna ask you questions, they're gonna make you do something that gets you out of your comfort zone. And in the end, it was like a regular staple for me. Like I was going every week with friends because it was like, oh, y'all going to drag bingo? Like let's go cut up and get our lives. And they would walk through the aisle. There would be performances. And so I think over time, especially after having watched shows like Drag Race, seeing that these people who are drag queens are actual humans and there's a story behind. And that's what I love about Drag Race is like you get to uncover and unpack who these people really are. And that's the secret sauce, I think, why the show above and beyond like the makeup and the hair and the looks and all that stuff, the production of it, I think it's the stories, the human stories. So yeah, I think about that. Like who's this person when they are stripped down? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because when I thought about this question, I actually thought about my first exposure to it on TV. So I was thinking about like when I was younger and RuPaul would be on TV shows, and I'm thinking specifically, I just like in preparation of this episode, I actually just looked back on RuPaul's appearance on In the House. With Debbie Allen and LL Cool J.
Yeah.
And RuPaul was on the show. This was 1995. But RuPaul's actually playing a straight character that was good friends or college friends with LL Cool J, but then was sharing the fact that he was a drag queen. In the episode, he actually said female impersonator instead of drag queen. But I thought that was really interesting. I think that when I think about RuPaul on TV, like it was like a mixed thing. I feel like some characters would be like, oh my goodness. And then other characters on different shows would be like, yes, like come on. Like it was confident, it was beautiful, it was glamorous. And so that was kind of like my first experience of it. But to Tony's part, there wasn't really much context to like RuPaul outside of that drag experience on those TV shows. And usually those were like one episode things.
Yeah.
And so I think that my experience has grown a lot too, or my understanding of it has grown a lot, being terrified, like coming to the show and being like, I really hope they don't make me sing or like or dance or come up on stage. But like since then it's like, oh, like it represents a symbol of confidence in my opinion. And so watching shows like Drag Race as well, it's like, oh, okay, like let me hear the story. Like let me hear the backstory. Let me see the stage, but also the person behind the stage persona. So it's just been a lot more of a well-rounded understanding, I'll say.
No, Jordan, I think it's interesting when you talk about context mattering. I think about my first experiences seeing drag when at a time in my life where I was less secure with like my sexuality and like had all these, I don't know, like burdens or like ideas around gender that were kind of based in respectability. You know, I remember like there's also this component. I remember like when I was first in the New York City Gay Men's Course, like a big element of that organization is drag, and like you guys would come to those shows and like we do Big Gay Sing in the spring. It's a pop show, and like part of it is drag performances, the whole drag team, so on and so forth. They're like queens that they've been doing drag for like 40 years. They're in the course, 60, 70 years old, like putting it on. And I had to reconcile this idea of respectability as like a cis gay man that doesn't do drag or and so on around like, will people take us seriously if they see this? And like, who are they and what are they taking serious? And it was one of those things that made me question like ideas that I had. Like I think so much of like learning different aspects and facets and cultures within the queer community is about maybe unlearning things that you think about or things that are put onto us. So that was the thing when I was thinking about that journey for me. I was like, my initial thoughts were like, too much. But I'm like, girl, too much is never enough. Put it on.
And what about you, Olivia? What's
you know,
the tea?
the tea is piping hot. Baby, when I think of my first interactions with drag and the idea of drag and RuPaul, obviously we saw RuPaul on a lot of like TV shows and stuff, but I distinctly remember visiting New York with my family, and we went to Madame Tussauds The Wax Museum. And the RuPaul is in the main room, at least at the time, when you first walk in, on this like big like water fountain thing. So like the RuPaul statue is just like standing big and tall with big hair. And I just remember looking up at the statue and just being like, there's this woman, this person, this that I don't quite understand my connection towards them, but I do feel like I'm being, I guess, represented in a way because I saw the feminine energy within RuPaul, and I loved that. But I also knew that this person walked through their everyday life as a man. So I just kind of always thought that in the back of my head. And my family never really said anything. Oh, that's RuPaul's. You know what I mean? It gives like, oh, that's RuPaul's. That's what she does, you know? And they let me have room and space to create that connection myself, which was nice because, you know, I see that as a privilege. Not a lot of people get that. They have to reacclimate and relearn. So once college hit and I found RuPaul's Drag Race, child, it was game over. And I loved the art form. I started to go to the gay clubs and see drag, but I always said to myself, I would never do drag. I would not. Oh, baby. Absolutely not. Because I was like, this is so much work. And like, at that time, I literally remember saying, which nowadays I would, you know, baby, I'm the femme of the femme, baby, period. But back then I was like, oh, I'm gay, but I'm not that gay. You know what I mean? And I remember saying that to my like roommate and my friends and stuff in college. And I just quickly found myself enamored by the artistry that was drag. Went to school for theater. Baby, I was just an eyelash away from drag at that point. And I mean, if 301, baby, it's there. But I definitely think it was a journey for me, as it is for everybody. And RuPaul was definitely a catalyst in my journey of finding who my artist self was, which ended up being Olivia Lux.
So, because I want to make sure I didn't miss, like, what flipped the switch there for you when you went from no, absolutely not to an eyelash away? What made you put those lashes on?
Do you know what is gaggy? I have no idea.
Oh.
And to this day, I think I sit down and I think about, what was that moment in my head where I was like, oh, I'm a drag queen? I think I literally was at a gig one time and I was like,
you walk by the mirror.
I'm a drag queen. Oh my God. It gave that. It really gave that. And like, all tea, no shade.
Did you have, obviously, like, we all have people that kind of like are I call it my fairy gay mother,
Yes.
who's someone who just like, here's how you do this.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like, who's that person?
I have a drag mother now. Her name is Madeline Hatter. I will say somebody very special to me. Her name is Harmonica Sunbeam. She,
Oh.
I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yes.
She is like one of the spearheads of Drag Queen Story Hour in New Jersey, a fierce Black drag queen. And she saw me in the crowd one day of this small gay bar. And I was a makeup artist at Sephora. So I had my little shimmer in my eye,
Mhm.
but just dressed out of drag, chilling, Freddie. And she saw the eyelash away
Mhm.
situation. She came up during the show with a microphone. Y'all would be terrified, clearly.
I think this may
And
be the moment.
yeah, with the microphone saying, "Hey, what's up?" And she was like, "Do you do drag?" And I was like, No. And she said, "Do you want to do drag?" And I said, "I don't know."
Mhm.
And then she asked the audience, she said, "Should he come back maybe next week and try some drag?" And everybody was like, "Yeah." And it felt wild to have that support in this bar of like,
Wow.
it's very intimate, small bar. I don't know. I felt like it gave me the opportunity and chance to just try it out maybe.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think about that night being a night that was like an introduction. But maybe by that time, I was twirling heels on stages and stuff already. So I don't know what the specific moment was, but Harmonica Sunbeam definitely attributed to that moment for me. And she has a special place in my heart. So if you're listening, because I know you are, bitch. Hey.
I love that story.
So, like, thinking specifically about Olivia Lux, I'm curious, like, when did you define that persona? Was that always in place, or was there, like, during your introduction into drag, was it something else and then it evolved into Olivia Lux? Like, what was that process like?
That's a good question. I like to think of Olivia as the culmination of all the strong women in my life. My grandmother, my two aunts, and my mom. They all raised me. And we had a good old time, baby. I mean, karaoke nights, we were performing. I've been performing since a very young age with all of them in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically remember my grandmother in the den had this wall of VHS tapes with like Sparkle and Dorothy Dandridge, the Carmen, like all of these like historic Black cinemas that were like Black old Hollywood glamour that I would look up to. Dream Girls. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And for me, I think I started to dream up this persona of someone that encapsulated this Black old Hollywood glamour, but also emulated the women in my life. And that was like classy, but still sexy and fly, and all of these things that I see Olivia as. And I think that's kind of how I put it all together in a box and put a cute little sequin bow on it. Yeah, that's how she came to be. Also, Olivia is a cute name. Okay, I thought up real long to find a name that nobody else had.
Yeah.
And then Lux, I really liked because it felt like polished and clean and pristine. But I didn't want to add an extra X or an E because it wasn't really luxurious. It meant light to me. It's the Latin root for light. And I think my drag, I want to continue to spread light on, things, but also positivity. I love to fucking smile. And I felt like it was like a perfect match for me. Olivia Lux.
Yeah. How does the persona of Olivia Lux differ from your everyday persona when you're not Olivia Lux?
RuPaul always says like your personas end up like melting together, and drag queens are like superheroes because you can use this energy and power that you have when you have the wigs and the heels on to help feed and source the energy and confidence for your non-drag self. And I really think that has become a vital tool for me as Freddie outside of drag, because I wouldn't say I'm like a not confident person, but baby, I could always use a little extra boost every once in a while.
Yeah.
And Olivia really helps with that. I think Olivia is a little bit more outgoing. I think that's the easy way out of this answer to say, because maybe when we're at the clubs and stuff like that. But Freddie really is a little bit more simple, homebody. I like to be underneath, a little cover, watching some Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think we can really picture Olivia doing all of that. I mean, maybe some people, but
Is Freddie shy?
Oh, why
So
you
do
Jordan?
not disturb.
Jordan. Also, do not notify anyway. Bitch.
Right.
Notify anyway.
My bad. My bad.
No, I do think I have a bit of shyness to me, but Olivia just like helps fuel that. I'm really happy when I'm Olivia, and it makes sense that like it feels like my voice goes up. It feels like everything is smiles and everything. Because drag is what I love to fucking do.
Yeah.
So it just made sense for me.
I love that. We all, I feel like, put on some sort of persona when we need to dial it up a bit in different scenarios, whether it be work, whether you're going out to the club, whether it just be family. I think that we all need that boost. And I think about, obviously, Beyonce, when she says on stage, she used to say, I'm Sasha Fierce on stage. And I think we all need to we all kind of put some sort of we may not name the person our other personality, but it's in us. And we know when we need to turn that person on. This person needs to come out. Or sometimes a little alcohol now.
Liquid courage.
Listen, I'm Tony. I'm Tony. Then I'm Tony. When I got the alcohol, a little bit more unguarded, and you need to be on guard.
Period.
Oh my
God. A goo, baby. Tony.
All right, but let's turn a bit, I think, to world events. Discussing the attack on drag in the last couple of years, it's been a topic for many Republicans. With sweeping anti-drag legislation, why do you think drag queens are the target of this group right now?
This year has been wild for drag. I have also been able to take part in a lot of events, a lot of organization-based events to raise awareness. I was able to attend the CMA Awards this year, and I performed with a co-host, Kelsey Ballerini. And for the first time ever, they weren't in Tennessee. They were in Texas, which was a big thing because the laws in Tennessee. So Kelsey Ballerini decided to have some drag queens on her set. And I remember going into rehearsal, and at the end of the number, the entire stadium lit up in a pride flag, all-inclusive pride flag. And it was incredible in rehearsal, but I kept thinking to myself, this is going to be televised across the nation, the Country Music Awards in Texas at this time, in the summertime, where Drag Queen Story Hour, a bunch of drag legislations were happening where you can't even go outside in drag. It is illegal, right? You're going from gig to gig, wild stuff, right? There was a point in time where my management had to look up laws for each of the states for my gigs outside of New York and outside of the tri-state area. So it was definitely a wild time for drag queens, and it always has been a difficult thing to juggle. Do I take off my makeup after the show to get home? Do I take a car to my next? Is it safe, right? Is it safe? Is it safe? And to answer your question, I thought long and hard about this and reflecting on it these past few years of traveling and being out and about in drag. I think it boils down to drag queens understand something that I think a lot of cis heteronormative folks that are against drag shit don't understand. I think drag queens have a higher level of understanding when it comes to gender. And we're here for a good time, not a long time situation. Amen. And I'm not saying that as a drag queen pretentiously. I'm saying I think people fear folks that have more knowledge and understanding about life and being and existence. I think they fear that. Therefore, they tend to shun those individuals out or lash out on them because of the fear. So, yeah, it makes sense that the individuals that are being targeted are the ones that get it, that are support structures for communities, for marginalized individuals, that understand, gender wholly, completely. Meanwhile, the bigots that don't understand it at all, won't understand it, do not want to understand it, are fearful of those individuals because they do get it. And knowledge is power, and they see us as powerful.
Yeah. I so many things you said resonated, and I sort of have a similar thought about it, just because I do think that with the extra visibility that that the drag experience is having, is threatening the way that our society exists today. It threatens the binary gender construct. And so even looking at the anti-drag legislation, it's so frustrating because in certain states, they're saying essentially that, male or female impersonation is automatically equated to adult entertainment, which is such an ignorant thing to say. And when I look at that, I'm just like, these are not reasonable human beings that are coming up with this legislation, because why in the world do you think that, dressing in a certain way automatically means that you need to be 18 years or older to be exposed to it?
Yeah.
It's just, it's reaching for, is it reaching for straws?
Grasping at straws.
Grasping at straws. It's really frustrating. And I think about like my childhood and looking at things like Mrs. Doubtfire, where I'm just kind of like, I never looked at that and thought that was family friendly. And there's so many aspects of the drag experience that are family friendly. And I think that these, like, certain states that are choosing to conflate the drag experience and just bucket into this adult entertainment thing is just really ignorant. And to your point, it lacks a true understanding of what the experience is. And it's just, it's stupid. And I think it is built out of fear.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's all a big distraction. That these politicians would be, have this attack on drag. I think it's smoke and mirrors, and I think it's to divert attention from the real issues. So it's like, let's focus on this thing and make this thing real big and happening. And while on the side, we're gonna be doing all our dirty work and very nasty work going on the side. And I have a theory that one of these Republican politicians was, politics is personal. And so I think they were probably turned down by a drag queen and decided let's go ahead and, I have the power to influence people and make laws happen. And so I found a little bit of information I want to share with the class today. So as we mentioned earlier, Tennessee was the first state in the country to pass a law placing strict limits on drag shows, when the state's Republican governor, Bill Lee, signed the legislation into law. Now, Lee signed that law despite a photo emerging of him showing him dressed in drag as a younger man. Okay, the irony. And I think it
wasn't AI, child.
Hello.
And there was also a quote in this article that's from Kate Ellis, who's the CEO of GLAAD, CEO and president of GLAAD, and she said it's puzzling because drag has always been an art form celebrated for centuries across cultures. And one of the things that it said is, I think my note was cut off here, is that from Shakespeare to military bases to bridal showers to bingo, as I was saying earlier, like, it's always been around. So I was just like, why now? What's going on? And it's the distraction. Or a Republican politician was slighted and decided, they was going to put their foot down.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, you even think about like a British court. I'm like, their girls are sitting up there in wigs and makeup. Like, it's just
It's drag.
It's drag. But further, I think Republicans in particular, one of I use best in a devious way. One of the best things they know how to do is message. I think that I guess I'm more independent, but like being in left leaning messaging gets very complex and hard, and like you have to be this like Ivy educated person to understand like what are you trying to say and do.
Mhm.
Whereas on that side of the field, it's drag is pornography for children. On that side, it is critical race theory is gonna make everybody hate white people. On that side, it is like very just simple ways of oversimplifying almost and
Yeah.
flattening what they're really doing, what they're really talking about. And I
Mhm.
think when you simplify it that way, then you get whole swaths of people behind it. Then you
Mhm.
are offending every religious person when you do it this way. Then you are offending every parent who feels like they're losing their right and their kids are learning things they don't want them to. And I think that when you do that, it's really this like grasp for power.
Yeah.
And like when you can message something in a way that gets most people behind you and it's so simple that it almost seems logical, then you hold on to that power. Then the people who, as Olivia mentioned, who really get it, who are truly living it, who are really challenging norms and trying to understand the world in a more complex way, like then they lose power. And like it's all this like shifting and grabbing for power from a very nasty place.
Yeah.
But fuck those nasty people.
But you know, I do have I am a little bit optimistic that some of the legislation is being overruled and struck down.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was even a thing in the first place is just like, what else do y'all have going on?
Right.
Nothing.
Like there's a lot of really priority things that we need to be focused on in this country. And I'm still shocked that whole thing, it happened and it's still ongoing. It's just, what are we fighting?
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, it's threatening to the art and the culture as well. Not even just physically threatening to the queens, obviously, because people feel they are empowered in states that anti-drag legislation is getting passed. They feel as though their point of view is getting across and they can continue their bigotry, right? But I think it is also targeting the culture, because then you have certain laws that state you can do drag in clubs and venues, but you're going to have to charge a certain percentage for a booking fee, or a certain percentage for like an entry fee, a cover fee. And that's not like logical. Usually drag shows happen because the drag artist wants to be there. They get hired by the location and things like that, not by the patrons. I mean, they get tipped. So it is now threatening the culture, because now you're not going to have as many drag opportunities and drag shows and drag queens in general. And we want more. We want to keep the art alive, and it's threatening in that way as well, which is, I know, Jordan, you were like flipping to the optimistic, and I definitely see that. I'm thankful that I'm here in New York and it's thriving and it's bustling. Baby, I was just at a show, last night. And the energy in the room was beautiful, and the artists were so incredible in bringing the community together, and that's what it's all about, community. So I think moving forward, thinking about all of these laws and legislations and things that we can do to band together to make it right, we think about that. We think about community first and foremost.
I specifically think about, like I said, I think at the top of the episode, is on RuPaul's Drag Race when the queens are in the workroom or in the Interior Illusions Lounge.
Yes.
And they're telling those stories as they're beating their faces or as they're untucking, waiting for the judging. That to me, that's the joy, the stories behind these people's lives that get shared, and you realize how much you relate to these people because they're having a human experience just like anyone else. And so my hope is that people take a step back and realize that these aren't just like characters that are performing, and that they don't have they're not human beings underneath all of this. And just think about, I say this, but I know it's really hard for people to take themselves out of the situation and think about other people and other folks' experiences and really have some empathy and compassion, because that person is a son or a daughter, or has kids, or has, are going through hardships, or just like the rest of us are. And so people, it's like dehumanizing to me in a way, because you take the human aspect out of what you see, and just like that's drag and it's all these bad things, and it's like, no, actually take a step back.
It's a person.
Breathe, relax.
Yeah.
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
And recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, you made me think of something even as you were talking. I was like, on the human part of it, but on the other side of it, like we say like the wigs and stuff, but like it's craft. Like doing hair, sewing, knowing how to paint, like it's craft in the same way that if you are a famous makeup artist or a famous hairstylist or a famous designer or seamstress, you would respect those people. It's like rolling all that shit into one human being and doing all of it. And I think sometimes we don't recognize how like, I'm very adamant about like respecting art and craft and the things that actual human beings do with like their person, their body, like the output that you have, the ideas you have. And I think that that's something that is also fucking incredible. And you may not understand it, but you should respect it in the same way that you will respect a person doing the same level, the same type of work under a different title.
Yeah. And Olivia, I'm just going to 1+ the comment you made about community. Just because if anybody has been to a drag show, especially somebody like me, my very early times going, I was just like antsy going in, not really sure if I was going to get called on, but I always left feeling more confident. Like I could feel the confidence. And when you actually are picked, to maybe like sing or participate or say something on the microphone, for me at least, I always walk away just feeling a bit more seen and feeling a bit more confident in my body. And we interviewed Raquel Willis earlier this season, and she talked about her experience as a drag queen in college, and just thinking about like how that experience impacted her life and also gave her more language and more confidence in gender fluidity and gender expression it's so needed. And I think that there's so much to gain outside of just entertainment purposes from the drag experience. So that community building aspect is super, super important in my mind as well.
I agree. Supporting drag queens, going out to shows, supporting the art form. We're always learning. We're always growing. And for me, Drag Race was incredible. But like, what do you do after that? Yeah. And for me, I ended up finding ballroom after Drag Race because it was important for me to go to the root of I feel like what my artistry was. Drag is there, and then there's like deeper, and it felt like Drag Race is so incredible and gave me this platform and is a very commercial thing that is easily accessible now. And now it's up to us to go further and deeper and learn more about our local artists and our local shows, and where did this even come from? Oh, this ballroom culture that's rich and still thriving. So that definitely is where it's at now. That's the call to action, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all been to a ball before?
Yeah,
I have been to a ball. I would love to go. We always missed the latex. Well, you guys went when that year Rihanna was there.
I don't
think I've been in that one.
Oh, we gotta go.
But I'm down.
Oh,
yeah.
Period.
I'm down.
No, we keep saying it, and
we've been to a ball.
I've been to a ball. I'm just saying, like, I want to go to one now.
And y'all should walk.
Jordan first.
I actually
What's the category?
Yeah, wait, quickly. I want to know everybody's categories.
So,
oh my goodness.
If you had to pick, performance, hands, face.
The only performance I'd be able to do is hands.
Runway.
Oh, best dress. I could do that.
Maybe runway. That could be fun.
Okay,
Yeah,
runway,
it's
best
gonna
dress.
be Butch Queen up in pumps.
Okay, first time.
Yeah, I will probably do runway.
I could see that for you.
Yeah, I think I would be into that, but I will also be open to a lot of different categories. So,
but
Jordan he's trying to scoop up all the trophies.
I want Jordan to do old nasty duck walk.
I think I'm beyond that point. I feel like it's been really tough on my knees.
Right, I cannot duck walk, baby.
These
are mallards, baby. Duck walk here.
Give a hair performance.
I want to be able to win, Tone.
Tonay is wild.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, Olivia, thank you so much. You've
Thank
been a
y'all.
fantastic guest, and we've had a ball chatting with you today. Before our listeners, anything you have coming up or where they can find you, just share anything you want to share now.
You know, I'm always up to shenanigans. You can find me on all social media platforms at the Olivia Lux. Also on Grindr, Black People Meet, you know. Period. I'll see y'all on there.
Thank you. And that is all the time we have this week. This season of Surface Level is presented by Moby, Mobilizing Our Brothers Initiative. If you enjoyed this conversation, let us know your thoughts and questions at surfacelevelpodcast.com. And remember, stay curious.